welcome back to Cantina Chronicles. We're coming to you live from Seswena City on Eriadu to talk High Republic comics and a special look at the Acolyte Kelnacca one-shot comic as well. But first, I think we have some news to discuss.
Pseudo news.
Pseudo news, right?
Question mark? Nothing reputable. Maybe just manufactured to keep the whole, Star Wars conversation going. But why not echo it here? Not very groundbreaking, but it's saying that the Rey New Jedi Order movie has been pushed a little bit later. They will not start filming until 2025. I guess they were going to try and do that a little sooner. I think the window for the opening of that movie was going to be in 2026, where they were going to actually hit theaters then. So it's just been pushed a little bit. And, citing story issues. It needs, quote unquote, it needs more work.
Do you know what I think the number one story issue is?
There's no story.
I don't think there's no one's actually written a script yet. I mean, every time you check in with Peaky Blinders himself, Stephen Merchant, no, what's his name?
Stephen Knight?
Natalie Merchant, I think.
Stephen Knight.
Oh, yeah, Stephen Knight.
Natalie Merchant. I think we've now named multiple people who have nothing to do with Star Wars. Yes. So, I just feel like every time you check in with him, he's just like, I've done a treatment. And I'm like, okay, scripts are tough. Can we start writing that script now?
Yeah.
Like, how's it going? So, yeah, I don't know. You want to hear my feelings? Is this is not going to be a Stephen Knight or whatever joint for very much longer.
Yeah, I know we had Damon Lindelof did a sort of pass on the Rey film before Stephen Knight, I think, was brought in, right? And so there are scripts abound that are all over the studio that I imagine they're maybe taking parts of, pieces of, and possibly doing early concept work. Like there was concept work for Force Awakens, like long before Michael Arndt and Lucas put a script together. There's just like these broad ideas, these visuals they want to kind of capture, and I wonder if that's at play right now.
Yeah, and remind me that one, that kind of original pass at Rey was supposed to be further in the future, right? Like a much older Rey, right? I think it was supposed to be like
one. It was going to be like a 60-year, 60-year time jump or something.
Yeah,
and it wasn't going to be Daisy Ridley. It was going to be like a different actor.
No.
Yeah.
I think now that she's game, and she's been game since the start, it makes sense that I'm like, can we not? I mean, we've already talked about this on there. Can we not skip to the old, Wizen Jedi, and especially if we're going to make it a tortured Jedi again?
Yeah.
let's see her go through the torture and come out the other side and be a Jedi Knight.
I'm sure it's just Lucasfilm frantically scrubbing through our 350 odd episodes, trying to find all the different concepts we've had, and I'm sure we'll just keep an eye on that.
Scraping it for the
Cantina
AI.
Chronicles email. Any day now, they're going to be tapping us on the shoulder to write that film, and I'm looking forward to that.
They have very talented creatives working on that exact problem right now. I mean, there's going to be a script sooner than later, I imagine, and I have to imagine the threat is sort of holding them back, right? Like, who do you do as the antagonist? What's going on there? I also wonder if Filoni's sort of expansion of the lore is something they want to process before they tell more stories. Like there are some giant kind of sweeping story devices happening in Ahsoka that's like the Mortis arc is sort of coming back in a major way. Like we might see where that all goes, and sort of maybe that needs to be unlocked before we move forward with the Rey story. I don't know. I wonder if Filoni is sort of, now that he's a chief creative officer, is sort of like overseeing this kind of broad deep sort of force lore of the Star Wars and sort of how that proceeds. I wonder. Sort of
I love that concept, Grant. I think that could be very right. And you're also making me wonder if do you think Filoni just has a text thread with George Lucas still, and is just like, I know you're out and whatever, but I'm just wondering what you think about X, Y, and Z.
What do you think about this?
Just floating this, and
I'm sure. That's a certainty.
I think it would be George at his happiest in a weird way. Like, I feel like he would enjoy still talking about Star Wars with people, but having no feeling of anything of just it's not on my shoulders, not on my shoulders. The weight's not there. I'm not going to get lambasted, but I can still talk about the world I created and do what you want.
And if it's a success, you can show everyone this text thread, and if it bombs, I had nothing to do with this. Just taking pot shots from the sideline.
I just picture them both with cowboy hats on, leg up on a fence together, sort of talking as the sun sets.
That's how it should be done, kind of, right? I mean, that's how we do it, Get a Manhattan going and just like sort of.
I know. We're missing one part of that equation, and that's the cantina.
Right. Yeah, just make the cantina.
We bring our own cantinas. I guess one thing that I was kind of thinking about that's really tricky about writing this is that, for all intents and purposes, we've been told that this is a standalone film. This is not the restarting of a trilogy, right? They've kind of sold this as we have these standalone films, which makes sense based on where they're at to see like what's going to hit, what's not going to hit, and then if it hits, we can continue the story. But that's really tricky from a epic sci-fi fantasy telling, because you have to tell a story that is complete in 2.5 to 3 hours, but also leaves it open if it's a raging success to continue, right? So it's like Star Wars has always been, in terms of like when we talk about the main mythos, trilogies or multiple movies, you can argue about whether Lucas knew or not, but come on, the end of Star Wars, it is a complete film, A New Hope, but at the same time, it's just like, basically that's the challenge, right? Isn't that the challenge? Is they have to recreate A New Hope, a completely standalone film that answers all of your questions, but also leaves open the possibility of more story to come. It's wild. Like, how do you do that again?
Not A New Hope. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Or A Force Awakens.
Right. Exactly. I mean,
it likely will be. I imagine.
Yeah. And for that reason, Adam, the only real thought that went through my head when I read this title was good. If it takes them 10 years to make this movie,
agreed.
Take 10 years to make this movie. Like, as long as it takes to just put something solid out there. I mean, we're past the time of rushing out content because we need content or whatever. I mean, yes, it'd be great to get a feature film out there, but I think that's what Mandalorian and Grogu is going to do. It'll be a filler. Get some butts in the seats. And
this is a new Ben tonight. I love it.
Ben
was like, there's not enough Star Wars
the old
for me
more
on a yearly basis.
The old more is more Ben is dead and buried. Like, I want 3 Star Wars movies.
But I want 3 good ones. I mean, and it's teacher with like the threshold's a lot higher with feature films. I have now learned from this podcast and talking to y'all and other people that like Star Wars. But so when it comes to like animated series and all these other things, I'm like, just like let's go for it. And live action TV, I've loved everything that's come out, and I've watched it and had a great time with it, to various degrees of adoration. But for the most part, I just really enjoyed the ride every time. And but I mean, with the feature films, I do feel like there's a lot more at stake. And when I say at stake, I don't mean like monetarily for Lucasfilm, though that is a corollary to this. But it's sort of how well these things do in films. Dictates how much more Star Wars I get.
The thing I think we always have to remind ourselves, and by ourselves I just mean the internet in general, so they'll totally take this to heart and the internet will be fine and it'll be fixed and no one will freak out. But like, the thing that we have to remember is that Disney has made their money back already from buying Star Wars. So the investment has paid off. So that's kind of a nice place to be, right? Because they're not doing, because I feel like part of what happened at the beginning of Star Wars acquisition is we need to pump these things out because we spent billions of dollars. Like, we need to get this out. We need to get our money back. We need to show positive investment. And like, I love Rise of Skywalker, but I love it for all of the warts that are there that probably wouldn't be there if they're like, you know what? We're going to take another year. We're going to take a year. Like, this isn't quite fully cooked yet. And I feel like they're at that point of like, you know what? We made our money back. We got a good thing going here. Like, we're starting to gain goodwill amongst fan base again. We'll take a little bit of time, make sure this thing's fully baked before we start chugging along.
All that said, I mean, this Mandalorian and Grogu movie, I mean, everyone loves Mandalorian and Grogu, but I'd still be really surprised. Like, the threshold is like $1 billion, at the box office, right? Like, that's a success for Lucasfilm at this point, because that's been the benchmark that all the feature films have made. And Solo didn't make it, so it's a failure, and it got canceled. I don't see Mandalorian and Grogu making $1 billion at the box office.
Oh, really? I see it easily.
I don't know. I think it does too. I think you put that little guy up on a screen. I just think, it's funny. I don't know why. I think it's you know why I think it's going to do really, really well. News alert! I am so not interested in this movie. I do not care about Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm going to go opening night. I'm going to love it. It's going to be amazing, and my Star Wars dreams will be met. But it doesn't ignite passion in me, and I think that's what these movies sometimes are for. They're not for me. They're for the general audience who are going to get all this spectacle out of it, which is great.
It's not a Skywalker saga film, and all the ones that did really well were even like Rogue One, which was at least as adjacent to A New Hope as you could possibly be.
I was also there opening night for X-Files Fight the Future, which took place between seasons 4 and 5 or 5 and 6 of the X-Files. And boy, that was a nothing burger because they couldn't move the plot much forward because they realized they had to come back to television the next year. And so I'm a little worried about that as well with this movie. It's just like, how does this fit in this master grand plan of,
Well, seeing as they sort of weave original trilogy characters in and out of the narrative with ease in Luke Skywalker and his sort of live action, appearances on the Mandalorian show. It's like we could very well get Luke Skywalker in this film. If that's hanging there, I think a lot of people are going to go to this movie.
I think I will continue my prediction that you will get the Trinity together again in film. I feel like that. I do think that's going to happen in this film because I think that's and not going to be a long scene, but you're going to get a Luke, Leia, Han together because I think one of the things hanging over the sequel trilogy, and I love the sequel trilogy, but I think one thing hanging over it is that you never get a Luke, Leia, Han moment, right? Like you just don't get that. Like you don't get the Holy Trinity together again. And for story purposes, I understand why it was tough and JJ had to break it the way he broke it. But like, I don't know. I feel like that's something that gets butts in the seats.
I think you have to have Luke's unraveling of Project Necromancer and sort of what's going on with the Emperor in a very dramatic way, because that's sort of like the hole that I saw in the sequel trilogy. I was like, where's Luke on Snoke? Like, where is Luke's notes on Snoke? It's just not there in those 3 films. And to me, it's like that's the juiciest bit of, I think, lore that you could explore is that what's Luke's sort of investigative process into Thrawn and the resurgence of the Empire, in Thrawn and and the Shadow Council and what that all means and what are the good guys doing? How are they intercepting these plans? How are they, uncovering these secret orders, right? Like what's going on with those contingents? I wonder.
Yeah, we'll see. Because I think we do know from the Ben Solo series, Luke does know that Snoke exists? ?
Yes, and Leia talks about him like he's just casually there on Coruscant sometimes or something. Right. Like he's in the mix politically.
Yeah. Do we get the moment of like, because now we're telling like nostalgic stories of Episode 7 because that's how the nostalgia cycle works. Is like, do we get the Snoke Luke confrontation that leads to his lightsaber?
Well, to me, you're going to get Heir to the Empire, sort of that storyline, but I think with Hera and Sabine, sort of, and Ahsoka as like the central characters versus your Luke, Talon Card, Mara Jade, sort of central characters. I think you'll just get that same story kind of remixed with Thrawn, but with the rebel characters essentially. I know.
So you're telling me there's a chance for Luke?
I think Snoke will very well fill the Luke sort of ideations in those books. Yeah. But
which I, by the way, would love that to be the takeaways. Like, don't actually do Luke. And for the people the Grogu's don't know what that is. It's the Heir to the Empire Thrawn or a Zahn trilogy. Right. He wrote a clone of Luke with 2 U's. But yeah, if you make that, if you sub in Snoke, so much more interesting.
And you already, I think, is Tantus done with at this point? Or I guess Tarkin takes it over at the end of Bad Batch, so...
Yeah,
I think Tantus is still standing at the end of Bad Batch.
Tantus is still in play.
Yeah. It's just not housing a Zillow beast anymore. We covered a lot of this last week. We're all excited about that film. But as far as the Rey one, I feel like this is a very, very important one. This and obviously the Mangold Dawn of the Jedi film. Those are big swings that could lead to a lot of really exciting content.
It's been renamed, Ben.
Yeah,
it's the Prime Jedi now.
I know.
That's not my. I'm not believing
not your
that.
name.
Yeah.
Do you think any of these names are final? Do you think it's really gonna be called Mandalorian Grogu?
I'll believe it when I see it like in a trailer. Yeah. Prime Jedi just makes me sad. Optimus Prime.
You're right. It's gotta be
Mandalorian Grogu could be called the Mandalore, and you just finally crown someone. The Mandalorian.
Or anything.
There's so much.
Or just I don't know, if you want butts in the seat, just call it Baby Yoda, because you need to get the regulars in, the normies in.
Yeah. Baby Yoda buys a lightsaber. 3 men and a baby Yoda.
Yeah, that could be super fun. I'm still waiting for my Grievous Prestige show where it's premium series on Grievous' sort of rise to, mechanical terror.
So with this, but here's a little behind the scenes before we started. Ben's lovely wife got him a anniversary present. If those of you on video can see, by the way, as a reminder to those who listen to the podcast, we do film this and put it on YouTube. But you have 4.
We do it live on YouTube
and
then post it to YouTube.
Yeah, and then both. You can watch us live, do it, and ask questions. Which reminds me, I should probably check the chat. And then you can watch it. I wouldn't say edited, but
we don't edit. We don't edit
anyway.
Anything.
What am I doing? No, we really don't.
Who needs to edit?
But I saw Grievous is on that shirt, and I was just like, is Grievous one of the most underrated characters?
Yes.
In the prequel 100%. Trilogy.
Yeah, he's kind of fantastic.
Every time I watch it, I get more and more like, this is pretty great. I mean, the effects still hold up. Like, he's so weird in such a wonderful George
it's like a bizarre choice, which I love. Because it's like super weird. The other choices would be like, just some Terminator-esque super droid that's just impossible to defeat. This is like, he's sickly, he's hunched over, he's sort of like Dracula with a cape. It's like he's a droid, but he's a humanoid underneath. Like, it's so interesting. It's such an interesting character.
Yeah.
It's one of the last times we saw Lucas do what Lucas does best, which is just like introduces an idea with no explanation and creates like lore drops around it. Like, that was a character that I was just like, I remember sitting there at the Boston Commons 19, watching this thing, and going like,
what's going on?
We're not going to learn anything about this guy, but he's so weird and cool, and he has he's coughing. Why is he coughing? Like, that's a choice.
Yeah.
Like, it's wonderful choices upon choices. It's like a hat and a hat and a hat in a good way.
I love art and creative people, and it doesn't matter what the creative outlet is. If it's like making dresses on like a competition, decorating cakes, like music, sculpture, like whatever. I just love hearing people's process, art, acting, things like that. And it usually always boils down to like, is that cool? Like, when you look at it and you're like, oh, that's cool. And I really think, I mean, we've seen some of the documentaries of George Lucas doing this, but he really puts it in the hands of the visual artists to sort of create these designs. But like, oftentimes with the designs, they will have a little backstory to why, they will definitely have a backstory to why a certain character looks a certain way. And there was probably so many different versions of this General Grievous, and and George was just like, I think he feeds off that, and he's like, no, I love that story. Like, I love the depth of that character. I can work with that. And even if he doesn't explore it, it's already got it in the hopper somewhere to come back to at another time if you feel like exploring it.
Well, he's created interest in it. Right? He's created interest in character. He knows he has the machine behind him that will start explaining it. But like, those scenes, and we've made fun of them before, and I made fun of them before, but those scenes in the old documentaries where you watch them in like the creature shop, where these people have been like just working probably like 20-hour days creating these monsters, creating these amazing things, and he just goes, no, yes. But you watch that, and there's like something like almost what's the word I'm looking for? It's a psychologist I can't think of. Jungian. There's almost something Jungian about the way George would go through it, because it's just like, no, that evokes something. Yes, evokes. Like, it's just like, it's that thing of like, just say what you're thinking right now. Like, just him kind of going through and like letting his brain just be like, that's interesting. Yes, that's interesting. Yes. And then like, make that the bad guy, make that like, you would see him almost talk about it like a kid, like make that the general, make that the big guy, make that the little, like he would talk about it in a way that I think he was able to access like his little kid self again, right? Of just like, what's cool. And it's when you watch those things, it's genius compared to like now when you get, it's not, I don't like to like do the old was better, but you get a lot of creatives together debating which one's the best one. And I feel like you get kind of,
he'll give design notes too, and sort of tell to elongate a spaceship or, whatever he's thinking, or make this, double this up. So it's like a cloud, the cloud ride, Cloud City sort of patrol craft. It's sort of like certain things where I think he would just give design notes about just extending the design, accentuating a certain bit of the design, distinguishing this more, like, and then he would get it back, and sort of it would be iterated upon. And it's like that's that's the power of sort of building one of these worlds, basically, or all of these worlds in this galaxy. Is sort of like you're designing each little bit and each little doorway and threshold and character and location. It's fun. It's just seems like a super fun process as well when you see him at those giant bulletin boards of just concept art, and he's just pinning them and highlighting them. It's just really cool to see that.
Or
stuff.
Combine two ideas. I think I might be misremembering this, but at one of those boards, I think the Magna Guards, which is also an underrated design, General Grievous's guards. It was like, oh, I like this design, and like droids wearing clothing, I think is fantastic.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. It's so weird. It makes no sense, but I'm there for it. It's also one of my favorite scenes of Revenge of the Sith, of just like when Obi-Wan chops down a Magna Guard, walks away cocky, and the thing just kind of starts coming back after him.
It's such an interesting scene because it's like a little bit of action blocking that almost you didn't need to do. Yeah. It's like, but it just adds so much flavor to the scene.
Yep. The little moment feels so Obi-Wan, right? Yeah. Like it just feels like he's just like, yep, done. Like no.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful design. I remember I was like super. I mean, I still love Mastodon, the band, like very much, but their rhythm guitarist got a Magna Guard on his, like a huge one on his forearm, like immediately after that movie. Just because I was like, that is a pretty sick. That's a pretty sick design when you look at him like straight on and like the clothing, kind of like our guy ND5. Yeah. I've been playing a bunch this weekend, and they,
the update.
Hey, do we want to
Outlaw Corner?
Outlaws sweep Corner. Into Outlaw Corner? Yeah,
little update. We know Adam has rolled credits, so he and Grant are patiently waiting for me to limp across the finish line, but nope, that's not going to happen.
I've rolled credits, and I am firmly on my way to platinum.
Good for you, man. At least you know the story, which I'm still like I don't know the end of the story, so I'm excited about that. But did you guys ever get?
Adam has to give me his 1 to 10 on the story because I feel terrible ranking it as low as I did on the.
What's your give me your number?
Like a 6 or
okay. Shouldn't we
wait
not
on there? I might
things even for rankings.
I
don't want you tainting my mind.
But
it's very broad. It's like right. It's just. Well, okay.
And look away real quick.
Oh, wait.
Look away. Oh, I said look away.
Okay. All right. Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you should have kept his headphones on because now he can't tell when we're done.
Okay.
You're good. Yeah, you're good. We'll talk more about story when Ben is finished. But I will say, so I did discover there's a hidden, what are they called? You're the people that help you along the way.
A hidden expert in the center.
Yeah, there's a hidden expert, which I discovered and have done that, and it's connected to ND5 and like goes more into his backstory, which is super fun. So cool. That was super fun. I have gotten every single upgrade except one, like literally one of all the experts. I'm still one away, and so it's frickin', and I really wanted to swear real bad. You have to race on You have to do the speeder races. Have you encountered those speeder races?
I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, and I did the one on Toshara. I was like, okay, I'll do this one first, and I'm blowing them out of the water, but there's no markers. I don't know where to go. How do you find out where to race? Do you have to look at the menu?
They now do. You have to look at there's smoke coming up. So there's like smoke.
There's like a guy in the open world, or
and when you're going on the race, there's actually like smoke things going.
Okay.
In the air. Now here's the thing I've discovered is that
I got lost, and I was like,
it's super bugged right now. I'm waiting for an update, and this is what's driving me nuts. Is that like they also appear so infrequently and randomized. Yeah. And so like I've spent hours driving around because I had to look up like where are the 7 places. Only 7 places in the entire galaxy where these things might randomly appear. And if I look at Toshara, if I spend another hour on frickin' Toshara, I'm gonna rip my hair out, whatever the little bit of hair I have left.
Yeah.
Because I am so done with driving around going, is he here? No. Is he here? No. Is he here? No. Because I need to win one more race, and then I will have gotten every single expert upgrade. And by the way, I'm frickin' invincible.
I bet you're a 10.
Wait, let's catch up with Ben and talk about Tatooine for a second. And like you've been to Tatooine.
I haven't been to Mos Eisley yet. I've barely scratched. So
wow. You haven't been to Mos Eisley.
I'm there now. I'm just backfilling a bunch of stuff.
Have you been to Chalmers?
No, I haven't been to Chalmers. I haven't been to Mos Eisley. I see that there's a mission, and I'm like, I can tell that Mos Eisley exists, but I haven't gone. Though I did go through.
All right, first impressions of Tatooine, just. from being there.
So
Short.
I mean, when I drove up to a Jawa sandcrawler that I just found in the desert to do some business, I was like, that felt pretty awesome. But it's like that's kind of like that's as much into the like Tatooine immersion as I've done. So I wanted to tell you this because
there's so much more.
I know. So like last night we had an early night and I think I played from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. just like delirious at 1 a.m. and like put the controller down. And then I got to play today for like another 4 or 5 hours. And I did nearly nothing because...
Nothing.
So there's...
You're doing a me. You're being the Adam in this one.
So there's
really
vaults, right? This is just a funny story, right? So there's vaults, and I've discovered that there's a lot of money in there. And I'm just like hoarding money, and I'm buying upgrades, and I'm just getting like jacked. And I really like... There's certain gear I want to find. Grant, I found the stealth shirt that you wore for the whole thing. Now I want the rest of that. I really want the whole outlaw kit, but I can't find the shirt because you're just like a run and gun tank. You just like build up to your adrenaline, and then you do more damage, and you buffs your health at the same time. Like you just like it tanks you out. So I want those two badly, and I'm like, I think I saw the shirt somewhere. I didn't. But anyway, so I was like, oh, I found the Ashiga vault by accident. And which I should have found earlier, but I just like didn't check the back door for some reason. And so I was like, okay, I'll do this, right? So I knock out 2 easy. One, I can tell that the card is hidden behind a door, and the door says, you need the key card for the Research Center 57, whatever. Key card Research Center 57 lobby is what it says. And I'm like, me being a genius, I'm like, I know where Research Center 57 is. So I went through, and it is it's actually one of the major places for one of the main stories that happens. And I cleaned out this Imperial place 3 times. Yeah. And like the third time I went back, I'm like, there must be someone I missed. I'm like, where's the lobby in this place? Because it's like, and I got the card and it didn't work. And I was like, I finally was like, oh, I should just do what I always do at this point in the game and go on YouTube and find it. That stupid card was on the wall right next to the door. It was like the key under the carpet. And I mean, I spent, I don't know how many, half of my time just like rating that. Listen, I had a blast doing it. I got really good at it. I can do.
I had a couple of those.
I can
too.
slice a thing in like 2 seconds now. Like I've just.
You're like doing the rhythm as the rhythm plays.
Yeah, well, those, but like the Wordle thing, like the Wordle games, I'm just like. Beep, boop, blah, beep,
yeah.
Those are pretty easy. Like it gets.
Now I'm annoyed. Now I'm annoyed every time I encounter one because I'm like, I know I'm gonna crack this thing. It's just 30 seconds of my life that I'm not gonna get back.
There's a couple moments where they put a sliced door like right next to where a bunch of guys are. So like if it does get hairy and you do raise the alarm, like they know you have to slice in quickly, and it's maybe the rhythm game goes like 4 beats.
Well,
or
that Ashiga door is like that too.
Yeah.
It's like you could clear out the thing every time, but it's like, or you could just do it really fast and get in, and.
Or you're like Adam, who has no rhythm, so I'm going to absolutely clear out every single person in that thing. That's the thing is, like, now I'm at the point, because I'm so OP with everything that I've done, which is hilarious. Like, I can just sit there and get, like, blasted and just I'm still doing my favorite melee, like, running and punching people in the face and like, running and punching another person in the face.
I do that now,
but, like,
too,
I am now... because I'm like clearing out the collections right now. That's what I'm doing while I'm waiting for like the bugs to get fixed. I'm like hoping the next download will help the one freaking thing I need for experts. Not that I'm angry, but I am now having to like go back. I'm like, oh, there's another key card in that place that I didn't get, and I'm like, all right, well, let me kill every single Imperial. Like now I'm so OP that I feel like I'm getting to the Jedi Survivor thing where I'm like, well, this doesn't feel like real to me anymore because I'm just like running around killing I could win the entire Galactic Civil War on my own.
You could just go into any Imperial.
Like, give me Darth Vader, I'll take him out.
I will say,
there's some fun hut missions that I want to talk to you guys about that I found very tricky. Like some of them were very tricky. Yeah. Where I ended up having just empty my thermal detonators on Gamorreans because they were just charging me. And I was just like, no, all the thermal detonators right now.
Yeah,
I did. So one of the things I wanted to do, because I do like love gear and gear sets. I am currently, as of right now, in excellent standing with 4 syndicates. And I maxed them all, so I've got all the.
That's all the
so I have
syndicates,
no more
not.
unlockables for any syndicate. I have those all, and so it was really fun. You know, you can find this out within the first 5 minutes of the game, so I don't feel bad saying this, but if your reward for maxing out with the pikes is you get a ISB uniform, and it didn't help as much as I hoped it would, but sometimes you can just like walk past people and they don't even see you. But it's like
Did you guys use the mechanic where you can talk to people? Like if they spot you can start talking to them.
Fast talk? Oh yeah, use fast talk all the time.
Yeah, because that's like another trick. Once they
fast talk and stun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
fast
my go-to.
Talk, stun, nix, and then you can well-placed blaster shot. You could take out like 5 people without anyone knowing. Essentially, it's pretty amazing.
I now, and I'll say as spoiler-free as possible, I now have gotten it unlocked with the stun weapon that makes it my primary weapon.
Nice.
Is my stun.
It's very humane.
Yes.
Yeah. And the faster reload.
Oh no, it's not.
Faster recharge.
is updated the way that stun is no longer stun in a wonderful way. Like, it is wild, some of the unlocks you can get when you get kind of high up, where it's just I feel like Superman in this game now, where I'm like, I don't think I've died in a while. Like one of the final unlocks is basically it's funny, you actually have to clear a wanted 6 status, which both of you have done, which we actually have to take on the Death Troopers, which you both did before I did. And the first time I did that, it was super challenging. Now I got that, like, I got to the point where I got to one of my mentors, like, you have to clear wanted 6. So I'm like, okay, fine. So it's basically me just running around, like, capping stormtroopers as much as possible, causing havoc to just get the guys beat, like, to get the Death Troopers. And it was so, like, this is the thing about the game, is when you get so high up, I'm like, this is so ho-hum. I'm like, all right, fine. There are like 3 Death Troopers, whatever. I'll, like, now I can target 7 people with my quick shot.
I'm still
and
only
I can
doing
take
3.
down. I could do 7, and I could take down high up level things. So I'm just like quick shotting Death Troopers. I'm like,
that might be a little bit of a spoiler, because as you go along in the story, I think you unlock 5 people or something.
But I think it's clear that everything's up is
my percentage
upgradable.
is 66% right now of the story mode, which you can. I'm sure I could get through the whole thing in like a day. Like granted, like it's I think it's a short thing. But the main point is I'm really enjoying it. I'm just doing things that make me happy. I still love doing. Well, I might not now, because I might not need to really do it. But the contracts, what is that called? It's contracts, bounty hunt, contract missions, whatever. Where
the guild
work,
like
where you're doing,
the guild work.
I look for ones that are space battles, because I just wanted they're fun, and I wanted to figure out how to do that, and I did. I have and like now I met the Sabak Shark expert. And so there's a bunch of things in there that make you much more agile in space, and but yeah, and like I found the dodge buttons on the thing, and that's how you dodge missiles, and like so now I can take much, and like I'm like I have everything maxed on my ship. I'm like, why am I getting roasted by missiles? And I'm like, oh,
Ben's first strafe was like, oh my god,
like skill issue.
Wow.
So anyways, I'm having fun with it, but I'm still plodding along. But I've pretty much cleared out Akiva, Kijimi, and Tashara, so I'm on to Tatooine.
Yeah, I'm just doing.
Cleared out Akiva.
Yeah, pretty much, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Clear out Akiva. Does that push you into like endgame stuff?
No, Akiva was the second planet, or technically third.
It depends. I mean, you can take it any way you want, but I think I'm with you. I think like Tatooine's kind of the last thing that opens up before Endgame.
I did
done all the other experts.
Kanto, Kijimi, Akiva, and then Tatooine is now what I'm.
Tatooine and then Endgame, but Tatooine is, I feel like, longer than the other ones.
Kijimi's
There's
a
lot of story. Yeah. No, I still love the game. I'm just now in the fetch quest mode.
Yes.
And I'm thinking this week. Okay, I may have been sick last week and called in multiple times. That's why I have 70 hours in the game right now.
Wow.
And so this week I can't be sick. And so I have to actually work a lot.
Wait, no, they were. I'm sorry. He had an itch in the air.
Watch the video. No, I'm kidding. No one listens to this that I work with. If you do, prove it.
Prove it.
Right.
But I'm hoping I might platinum it. I don't think it's gonna be this week, but I think I might platinum it next week.
Nice.
I'm close.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm now doing the fetch questy thing, so I'm like going around all over the place, like going back through places. Any place. The one thing I learned is that basically anything you want in the is a little hint for people or a little like help. If you go to like the miscellaneous, which is like the holo messages and everything else that you can collect, like the jets, whatever, almost all of those are connected to a treasure. So anytime you're in a room with a treasure, just make sure you clear it out. Look on tables, take things off tables, and that will like
there's stuff everywhere.
I did run into so there are some glitches for some reason. Like I did like a fetch quest. I like delivered mail on Akiva. It was like one of the first things I did, right? But like whenever I spawn, it says, "Well, now I've delivered all the things. I should go get my money."
Oh, you have that.
Yeah.
You have that one too.
Ooh.
Same here.
And it
Same
grinds
here.
my
That
gears.
is every time
I even went
said
back
same
to
thing.
that area to be like, "Can someone please make this stop? Any of you?"
Can we fix this?
No,
question?
and you just have to wait for an update. Like there's still some intel that I've cleared the intel.
Well,
clearly, I've cleared the intel, and it won't clear off my to-do list, which drives me nuts.
And then, so the other thing is that like sometimes I would stumble upon a treasure and find it, but then I would find the hint to it afterwards, and it would send me to the same place, and I'd be like, yeah, I don't have time for that.
Ben, have you done? So you've done like the hidden. You've gotten like the hidden transmissions thing in space. Have you cleared that out?
I haven't gone to.
Yet?
Is there one in space that I have to go to?
So it'll get you there. It's all in space. So anytime there's treasures, so one suggestion
space?
I have, one tip for you. Yeah, so like you'll go and you'll look at a space and it'll have like how many like space treasures there are or like treasure boxes. Have you done that? Like when you go to the map and you go over anything, it'll show you how many treasures there are at any place.
On land, but not in space.
They do it in space
I think
as well.
there might be a checkpoint
check it out.
for space that I've just kind of been ignoring.
Is this the ND5 missions, Adam?
Yes. So my suggestion is when you get to that, when you get to the point. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you gotten all those CIS messages?
Yeah, we met maybe a former colleague of his.
Yes.
And then he needs to send his last mission from the Separatist army.
Yeah, you've done all those.
I did that mission, whatever, to unlock that expert.
And now you've unlocked him as
you.
Okay, so that's the hidden expert that I've talked about. So good. So anyway, that's a good one too. Have you before endgame? You might want to
that a little bit.
Do all those. Because as Grant
in orbit somewhere to unlock it further.
No, you're where you're at because you've unlocked the expert, right? So I would just look at his unlockables, and get those as you can. They're very helpful. You get a lot of health. You get a lot of other things that'll be really helpful. Yeah, for the end game. And Grant, I did the end game before I did that, and you asked me earlier today or yesterday how to go.
I did the end game before I did that too. I had to go back.
Yeah, and saying, but you kind of hinted me in, so I upped my stealth. So I think I got through the end game part in between 5 and 10 tries.
Yeah, so that mandatory stealth thing at the very, very end. There's certain ways to achieve stealth again and things like that, but nonetheless, it's still I still found it very tricky.
Achieve
stealth
again.
I know. I want.
Ooh.
Yes.
So,
I want to talk. Yeah, we'll talk with Ben because I also want to talk about the emotional.
I'm just being vague for you. I would never
explain
explain what happens, but it's like there are ways to achieve stealth and remain hidden, but you basically have to move out of the hidden areas to do things to then move forward.
They're very clever with that.
And it was tricky because but the person you're going up against is very good at detecting you outside of the stealth.
It's very tricky.
Yeah,
it's a lot of running and sliding. I did a lot of running and sliding.
Yes.
But I
hope
running
I
around
slid at the right time and no one saw me.
Yes, and then can I hack this terminal quick enough while I hear that person stopping around?
That was nerve-wracking. So
what I will say is, Ben, I appreciate that you're taking a little longer than Grant and I because you're probably taking the normal human amount of time it takes to
I'm
play
really
this game.
enjoying it. I'm just
so that when you
Yes. Yeah, I don't want this game to end.
And again, I'm sorry you were not sick last week.
Yeah.
And so
COVID's going around.
I know. I was anyway. I was avoiding it. So what I was gonna say is that I feel like when you get to the end game, that will be a time that we can go completely spoilerific about it because I do want to talk about the end game, and I did get Grant and I gave her different ratings. I did get somewhat emotional with kind of the end thing. I think they got a Star Wars emotion in the end game, not to the level of like Jedi Survivor, but it did. There's a moment where I'm like, I kind of like that we're doing this. This feels Star Wars to me, and we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one moment between two characters that very
you and I are probably talking about
and kind of a fun little like button on the entire story. That's great. I didn't like I kind of the overarching story with the main ensemble without any new apparatus. I was like, man. Yeah, exactly.
I think you and I are talking about the same thing.
We're talking about the exact same scene.
So we'll dissect it more, and I think that'll be fun for listeners too, who either A, have finished the game, or B,
Ben, I promise you, like we're
not, or B, aren't going to play the game, right? Because there's important storytelling in this, just like there's important storytelling in. Oh, that's the other part of news we didn't talk about since we're in Game Corner, is that like they've officially announced the end of the trilogy for the Jedi Survivor is coming out. That's officially announced.
Final news item before we jump into comics.
Wait, Ben's gonna break our hearts.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, it's just that it's not doesn't involve Stig Asmussen, the developer that made the first two. It's being
really
he's not on the project. He went to another so.
But it wasn't bad.
I don't think so because
it's bad blood. Or it sounds like he had other opportunities.
Steve gave his like he was the guy quoted. It was just like, I always imagined it as a trilogy and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I honestly feel like the second game was so near damn perfect that they don't need to iterate on it much more. If you just tell a new story and use the same mechanics, I'm happy. I'm cool. Like, I just want to know the end of that story. That's where I'm at with that game. It's it's the opposite of Outlaws for me. Like, it's less of the game and more of the story for me.
Right. That game is allowed to be sort of linear because they do such incredible sort of like cutscene moments and boss fights. It's just so great. I really like the Jedi game. So.
Oh, Grant, going back to Outlaws for a second, or Ben going back to Outlaws for a second. So you're like, you've gotten excellent with all 5 syndicates.
I only
4
or
5.
For me. I haven't uncovered a 5th yet. So
I can't remember how many there are. That's not me being
Ashiga,
Pike.
Yeah.
Crimson Dawn.
Ashiga, Crimson Dawn, and
Pikes.
Yeah, so it is. It's 4. It's not me being whatever. So you've gotten the trophy for getting excellent for all. Have you gone the other direction yet?
Oh no.
Because there's a trophy for you have to get the worst rating with one syndicate. You could, like, the worst possible. You could get bottom floor, and I'm like, that might be the last trophy because now I'm trophy hunting.
Oh, with just one, you just
I might get that
all
one
the way
last.
Down. I got close because I just dunked on the Pikes when I started this game.
Pikes.
Me
Pikes
too,
are.
yeah.
I mean, the Pikes. I'm already starting to. I'm already drifted down from excellent to low good with the Pikes, and that's going to be the one I'm just going to go in and blow up their whole situation.
That's funny.
To get as low as I possibly can. But like, I'm waiting to do that because I'm like all the other things. I'm like, I probably need to get to talk to their merchants, and I want to get in there. But I'm like,
bottom line is like, if you're a Star Wars fan, this is the best way to be in Star Wars right now. It's a game. It's immersive. It is a great time period. It touches on prequel stuff and sequel stuff, and it's just like this is how you be in Star Wars. The music's amazing, the sound design's amazing, and it's
good.
Super fun. You're just existing in the world, and it's great.
And it's rewarding.
Yeah.
In terms of like, there's a steep learning curve that we talked about, but like once you get past that, like the unlockables become more and more fun. Like I wasn't doing like it coaxes you into using every possible thing in your tool bag, which I appreciate. But now I am doing everything I possibly can. Like I wasn't doing the quick shot thing for the longest time. And now that I have it like so upgraded, I'm like, yep, go to quick shot immediately, do this, do that, go back to stealth, use Nyx, it's just really fun in that
it's
way.
Surprising too.
That you just
love
can't.
That it's not like like in God of War I played the heck out of, but it's like you can see the whole tree ahead of time, so you kind of know what you're gunning for. This, it's like a surprise. Like when you unlock a new expert, you're like, wait, whoa. And you don't really appreciate it until you've unlocked this new skill, and then you're like, oh, this changes everything. Like this new thing I learned.
It makes sense too. It's kind of organic that an expert would teach you this skill versus sort of it's a node on a skill tree where it just feels like, oh, I've unlocked. It's very. So as much as I've kind of critiqued the game for sort of gamifying a lot of its elements, it's like the skill tree feels very organic. It feels like this really cool new feature that I almost never want to see go away from, especially like Star Wars games, because Star Wars is all about mentorship and like
100%.
it's just the expert system is so cool that like if you just translate this to a Jedi formula and you're meeting a bunch of different masters or force sensitives around the galaxy and they're all offering new force abilities, like, it's just so cool. That it's very neat.
As I mentioned, I'm one freaking skill away from getting every single skill. As like going through and looking at all of them, I also feel like they were organic to who they gave, like which mentor they gave the skill to. Like they very felt like all the ND5 ones I'm going through. I'm like, yes, this feels like what a droid would teach me to do. Right? Like, like I appreciate it's very droid focused. Then you get others like Lando is very Lando, and like it's just wonderful. And then
Lando gives you a bunch of like trick cards and
and a lot of like other
maneuvers.
Things.
Like he's like, let me show you a couple
flight maneuvers.
There's two cards. Now that the card's out of the bag, the cat's out of the bag. There's the first one you get, it like instantly unlocks, and you get these two cards. One is called Plan A, and one is called Plan B. And like Plan B is like fast talking your way out, and then I think it like boosts your adrenaline, so like you can instantly go into quick shot out of fast talk.
That's amazing.
And then like and Plan B is like it makes your blaster stronger. He's like, in case the talking doesn't work.
It's very Lando, right? It feels very Lando. When you eventually get to Jabba's palace, which we've talked about, is there.
That is not been there yet.
I want to have a talk if we all saw the same thing. Just look around when you're.
I already know
Jabba's
what you're gonna say, and I'm not gonna say it because I don't want your.
Nope, that's fine. And then you can also go to, since you're on Tatooine, have you discovered other landmarks or things named in the movies?
Okay, so I was in out past the Dune Sea. And I was like, and I started cruising through, and I was like, I bet if I look hard enough, I might find a hut of an old man. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I did find a homestead built into a cliff. I don't think it was the homestead, but I'm gonna keep looking and hope I find something.
Have you tried picking up any power converters?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I was like, I think it's my favorite planet in the game because
there's so many Easter eggs in that, and you're never getting off Tatooine because there is like a million.
That's going to be October.
That's the moment
October for me.
Yeah.
It's honestly, it was so cool that they built Tatooine the way they did. And
they really did.
Just feel like
awesome. No, I like everywhere I go, I'm like, I know where I am right now.
There's a mission, Adam, where I don't know if it's the west or south Jinlan wastes, where it's like just deep, far on the edges of the entire map.
And you really feel like you're out. There's no one out there. I feel like in the middle of a desert. It's wonderful, and you see a couple things.
Out there,
other things happen too.
You see two major things that I was just like, this is.
Okay.
And those missions.
This is when we get the text from Ben at 5 a.m. being like, I've been playing out.
I have to go to work in 2 hours, but I don't care.
All you have to say is,
oh man.
I don't know. It's kind of exactly what I hoped for. Like, I'm living in Star Wars. I'm checking things. I'm like, it's like doing the Assassin's Creed thing where I'm doing a lot. Now I'm like at the part where I'm like doing a lot of hunting for like things, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm about to go try to get all the Sabacc cards, which will be fun.
The fun thing is, like, I don't know how many hours I've played, but like you guys mentioned one thing each. It was like your favorite thing on the first podcast we talked about this. I just unlocked it like yesterday. Like, I just found that droid that like had a bad motivator that you talked about like the first day in
yeah. Well, but that's a thing where you could totally miss it. Like it's just
that's
a side.
You
just randomly
like,
run
how many
into them.
More?
Yeah, like,
and then also when you
did you get to that Kowakian monkey lizard that like throws rocks at you from
I
a
had
tree?
One call me out to the Imperials.
Yeah,
he was in a tree.
Yeah,
he was like he was like, and it was out outside Research Center 57.
Grenade launcher, and I launched like 7 grenades at it, and that's why I sent you guys that picture.
The explosion!
I think that's Kowakian monkey lizard getting naded.
Dude, I think that's gonna be my album cover for Cantina Chronicles Volume 1.
That might be that'll be the Instagram post for this week. I just go back and find it.
That was the most annoying. Like, that was the most annoying moment of the game for me. I was like, "What just hit me in the head?"
I do love this game for how ever so often it'll be super annoying. Like I'll be like just stealthing my way through something, and I'll just stumble and do one stupid thing, and I'm like, all right, now I gotta kill everyone. Like and it's so much fun where I'm like, now I'm on Terminator mode, where I'm just like, all right, and then I have like a machine. I'm like, take you out, you're dead. Like I'm just like. But the other thing I was gonna say about this game, which I play video games probably differently than everyone else because I'm a weird human being. Welcome to my brain, where like I don't like playing video games for long stretches of time because they start getting like. It's a whole thing. So I will play. I'm a big believer of 45 minutes on, 45 minutes off.
Very healthy.
So like, that's what I do for work, and it's been really successful for me. I want to acknowledge my privilege that I have a job that allows me to do that a lot of days. A lot of people can't do that. They can't go to an office and play video games for 45 minutes. So I just want to acknowledge my privilege. But aside, I like this game for that because certain games it's hard to do that. Like, that's why I don't play a lot of like online games because it's hard to like structure your time like this. But when I set my timer for 45 minutes and it goes off 45 minutes later, I'm like, I've done a lot in 45 minutes in this game because there's so many little chunks of things that you can do in 45 minutes as opposed to something like even like Jedi Survivor, which I love. I love those games, but you might be on one planet for 6 hours, right? Just walking your way through something. And I feel like I've gone so little on this. And meanwhile, and so it's for me, it's kind of these are why I pick these games like Assassin's Creed and Outlaws. They work better
Borderlands is
for me
like
for the way I play video games. Borderlands, it totally, and so this absolutely scratches that itch for me, and I feel like I can like really bite off chunks and see my progression, and like I'm still loving it.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's enough. Thank you.
Should we talk about comics?
Yeah, let's talk about comics.
All right.
Sure. All right. Yeah. I almost said welcome to Kyber Crystal Comics Corner, but that's been like not a thing forever.
I know.
It's like it's still
People
in my
are looking
brain.
at you funny from across the bar right now. They're like, "What's this guy talking about?"
Should we talk Kelnacca first? That's the freshest in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we're going to talk about, just as kind of, just so everyone knows, we're doing the High Republic's coverage. We're going to talk about Kelnacca one-shot. We're going to talk about the Crash and Burn High Republic one-shot. And then the High Republic Adventures issues 6, 7, and 8, I believe is what we're going to cover as a standalone. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Talk about the Ty York series as well. That hasn't been on our radar.
The Saber for Hire. That's on our back. If everyone wants a kind of a behind the scenes, that's on our Excel sheet. But it's not finished yet.
Yeah, it's still ongoing.
It's still ongoing.
Yeah. And we've got the end of Vader too. Yeah. Like we got
the end of Vader. It just happened. You want to do that next week, guys? Do you want to talk about Vader next week?
Yeah.
Just call it on air. All right, and then the week after that, we can do Tears of the Nameless, the High Republic
novel.
Cool. YA novel. Anyway, so we got the end of Vader, and then we got the High Republic Saber for Hire. We also got the High Republic Echoes of Fear, too. So we got those ones coming out. Yeah. So, but those are still ongoing. I think Inquisitors is ongoing too. I think that's it for ongoing.
Yeah, we haven't even talked to Inquisitors.
Still
that's been ongoing.
Still, well, that's a little mini.
It's interesting. I've been reading it. It's interesting. We could talk about it. It's not super additive,
it's interesting.
But
I don't like the main character, but we'll talk about that on air.
Yeah, so the main character is like, we'll talk. Right? It's like a balance.
It's very much like you are not of this era of comic book making. It's very interesting. You are 1994, but we'll talk about that at a later date. So we got stuff going on. High Republic Corner. What are we doing? Oh, Kelnacca. You want to talk Kelnacca? Let's talk Kelnacca. Who doesn't love Kelnacca?
100 years before.
Yeah.
The Phantom Menace.
Or the good news is this comic is called Kelnacca. The bad news is this comic is not about
Kelnacca. No, yeah.
We get a little so we sort of meet up. Gosh, I guess around the time like it takes place during the fight within the hill. So sort of in like current day High Republic timeline here in phase 3, sort of still battling the Nihil. But what we have is a funeral of an old master attended to by his Padawan. And this old master is explaining to his Padawan about his master, who was Kelnacca.
Yeah.
And the bond that they had.
Yarzion Vel is this character's name. Yeah. And it's interesting because the comic sort of talks about the issue of if your master dies, like who takes over your tutelage, and his master died,
At the Starlight
and
Beacon.
fall of
Right,
Starlight
yep.
Beacon. And so he basically asked Elzar Man for a new master, or who's going to teach me now? And then Kelnacca steps up, and Elzar, I think, assigns him to Kelnacca, or says the Force always provides. Right?
Yeah.
It's this very kind of fun sort of saying where the Force provides, and then Kelnacca appears, and it's sort of this really natural transition to a new master under Kelnacca. But very cool that he has these kind of markings on the side of his head, and then his master got tattooed, like a matching tattoo of his name on her head, and then she obviously passed away, and then so he's left with the markings on his head that you later find out is the name of that master who died on Starlight Beacon. And so
you get a head tattoo honoring your old masters, which is kind of cool. Yeah, very cool. This character.
So like here's the thing. How do I want to say this? This is Cavan Scott, right? I just wanted to look at that. It's Cavan Scott.
Yes.
I think Cavan Scott is a masterful storytelling, and I think this comic does a really interesting thing with time and the fact that you have different lifespans for different creatures in the galaxy, and really plays on it in a way that's really meaningful. And this idea of just like, what does lineage mean when like one master can take on like the Padawan of his two previous, like, it's just a weird time wimey thing, which I really enjoyed. I think and we've kind of hinted at it, really the only downfall of this entire thing is you call this Kelnacca. Like, I really enjoyed the story, but I'm like, this is not really a Kelnacca story. It's just a High Republic story. Like, it's just a one shot that Kelnacca is the master.
It does. I mean, it does do some character development of Kelnacca. By way of, I mean, so like basically you have this master dying with his, his Padawan, young Padawan, wondering who's going to teach her. I believe it's a her, not a they.
Yeah.
Yes, Ordia.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, let me tell you in my dying breath what happened when my master died, and I had the same problem. It was Kelnacca. And then ultimately Kelnacca comes in to see his old Padawan pass away of old age, and takes on his Padawan as his Padawan. Oh my God. That wasn't English, but
because Wookiees live a long time.
And it's just like watching his Padawan die, and and then this and I mean, ultimately, I guess Kelnacca has a head tattoo. I guess I didn't notice it that much in Acolyte, but it's true. And
well, I think it's covered. I think it's covered until he sweeps his hair back. So you can't see it, which is cool. I like that. I like that idea of like the tattoos, and again, it plays with the attachment stuff, which is like, it's honoring, it's not necessarily attachment. I really appreciate this. It's a weird, I don't want to get honoring your mentor. I don't want to get like a whole thing, but I feel like this might have been more meaningful if the Acolyte were coming back as a show. Like, it felt like, oh well, I kind of wish since it's canceled, can we tell deeper stories with these characters now that we know we're not going to see them on live action?
I mean, so that is like the 3-ton bantha in the room, right? But it's just because like these comics, especially like now, they're all branded, as we've mentioned before, with 100 years before the Acolyte, and it's like really like pushing like people to get excited about the Acolyte, and then it's like, but it's canceled. So it's kind of pushing in both directions. I choose to believe that no one's ever really dead. I think no story's ever really gone. There's so much fertile ground placed by Leslie. Who knows what'll happen in the future, but I have to believe that there'll be more storytelling in the Acolytes era. There just will be.
Remind me, do we talk about the news that there's like one, they've gone down to one live action a year? Did we talk about that last week?
We did. I think talk about that last
That's
week.
all. I just want to make sure we talked about that, because I feel like that's the big thing going on here, that they, like, it's that weird thing where I feel like that decision was made pretty quickly, and not with a lot of the creators in mind or connected to. So even the publishing arm of it was just like, I think everyone inside Lucasfilm seemed very surprised by this decision, and like it even affects, like you said, the branding of these comics.
Again, I haven't seen a quote from Leslie or Kathleen on it.
Nope.
So I think probably, I mean, if that's really what's going on and that's a kind of sausage being made stuff, I don't think Lucasfilm wants us to know. But it's just like they looked ahead at their slate of like 3 feature films, and like I guess there's still like 4 live action shows coming, like that are being made. It's just like they're talking 5-6 years out now if they were going to release this, and they're just
it's a full slot.
It's not definitive enough. It's like, well, you're definitely, our studios can only have so much capacity, and it's not happening next year. It's not happening the year after that.
Yeah.
And, and then who knows what's happening 3-4 years down the line.
It's full TV is full Filoni-verse.
Yeah, and
now,
Leslie's got to work. She's going to go do another project, because she can't do this because there's no room for it. So she's going to, they'll have to. It just the can has been kicked, and so that's it.
But again, as we talked about that week, because remember we did talk about it, it's just like Star Wars is just like it'll live on. The three of us will have all of our accolade questions answered, and the rest of the people who only my wife and others who only watch TV will never know. So I do appreciate these comics are happening. I think our biggest complaint is we want more Kelnacca in our Kelnacca.
Yeah,
which is not a bad thing to ask for, right? That means we're interested.
But I think there's so much to explore with a Wookiee Jedi, right? They do a lot with Barry Yaga, and it's like it would be nice to see the origins of what Kelnacca was like on Kashyyyk, why he was chosen to be a Jedi, or when his Force powers sort of manifested, things like that. Like, just his past. I really thought his connection to sort of like nature and the jungle that he was living in the Acolyte was going to be explored a little bit more. Like his sort of, he fights off some poachers, I think.
Yeah,
that's about it. You don't really see his relationship with the ecosystem or anything like that, other than fighting off poachers from hunting in his territory.
But we do learn a lot about Kelnacca. He is a being of very few words. And that's kind of cool. He's very stoic, and he's, he sort of teaches with actions, and it doesn't have these long platitudes. And it seemed a little sad to me because it's just like, well, how many people understand Shriwook? But it seems like enough. Enough at least among the Order where they could figure it out. But he just, I don't know, that was really cool. I mean, the way that his Padawan was knighted, that scene I loved.
Yes.
And, it's like, as soon as his Padawan was like rushes back into a burning building to save some, the droid,
a droid that's an older model.
It probably doesn't even have a consciousness, but it meant something.
No, just means something to the family. To the kid.
Yeah, and he was like, "I'm so sorry, Master."
Well, it had the hollow memories of the hollow messages or recordings of their mother,
right?
Which presumably passed away. Which was like, wow, really pulling at the heartstrings. There's some really affecting things in the issue that I thought were really powerful, especially Yarzi on his deathbed was powerful. That whole little tidbit was powerful. Like a lot of heart in this story, and Kevin Scott's so good at.
I want to kind of circle back to where I started. I really liked the story. Like as the way it was told, I really really enjoyed it. I think Kevin Scott's a masterful storyteller. I just think it's overshadowed a little bit by circumstances he had no control over, which was like the cancellation of the Acolyte on top of where I'm just like I want more thing, and I just here's the thing, guys, is like we've talked about it. I don't want to like beat a dead horse, which is a horrible saying, but like all I ever wanted is a Jedi Wookiee, as having played it in Star Wars Galaxy, and like we got it with Kelnacca, and I'm like I don't mind the way they dealt with him in the Acolyte, and like can we get, I know they're expensive to make, I just want more Wookiees in Star Wars. Like I just feel like we got Black Krrsantan for like a couple of minutes and Boba Fett. Like I just want more. I just like my Wookiees. I want more Wookiees, please.
Yeah. Judas wants to work, so
I wonder the next time you'll see a Wookiee. Yeah. I have to imagine it's going to be old Chewbacca and the new Jedi Order
that's true.
But...
Yeah. And I like Chewbacca. Chewbacca is awesome, but like I love this idea of a stoic, like I love the idea of that, having to like balance the Force with kind of the rage of a Wookiee, right? Yeah. Like I like that idea. Just like I like Master I can't think of his name in the High Republic, the Trandoshan Master Skier. Like I like Skier, like I like that idea, right? Of these people like being like they're the better part of their angels, right? Of the demons. Like I don't know. I think it's interesting storytelling.
Yeah, but definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. What would you like to move on? I guess sort of the crash and burn is conjoined.
Kind of spins out of the High Republic Adventures. We can kind of talk about them together.
But this is High Republic Adventures. This is Daniel Jose Older's baby. I don't know if he actually wrote these. I don't even look anymore. I assume it's all him, but I guess it's probably not.
Yes. Yeah, he's doing the
Daniel
adventures,
Elder,
and I believe, and he also does Crash and Burn. Yep, he does.
Okay.
He does. Yeah.
Amazing art. I just feel it's the most vivid comic book art I've ever seen.
Really cool art.
It's almost tough to look at. Like I really have to like zoom in and like see what I'm looking at to like appreciate.
It's like hyper detailed,
yeah,
right? With like a lot of every ruffle and every little
and Ben, I know like you're kind of newer to comic book reading, and I've been doing it forever, and I just want to like I want to support what you're saying or affirm what you're saying, because even as a person who reads comics, like all of the comics all the time ever, these are the ones I have to slow way down to read. And it's something about the comic art style, and anytime you have an artist who makes me read a comic book in a different way, I always will appreciate that. So I think it's like you're saying, Grant, I think it's like hyper detailed. It's like very flowy. The colors are very similar. It's very artistic. Like it's very interesting. Like it does makes it hard for my eyes to like read fast.
It feels like everything's in sharp focus, where maybe a lot of other artists would maybe just the detail would drop off, and background elements, things like that. Whereas this, you can see the people walking on the streets. You can see a lot of the land speeders, and you can see all the details of a ship, or the decals and auto, mounted turrets and things like that everywhere. It's really cool.
Yeah,
and I think
Telesova's hair. Yeah. Like her hair, I always have to take a moment just to like. It always looks amazing.
Yeah, she's a sweet looking character.
Yeah, just kind of it's Harvey Talabau. Well, Talabau, I think is his name.
Take a bow, Harvey.
Yeah,
take a bow.
And I apologize for butchering your name, I'm sure.
This is the Zine Lula
series.
Farzala, who's like my favorite character of all time.
Farzala is a day. I didn't know that. Actually.
Yeah. No.
I had to reread a couple pages.
That's good.
They are a fantastic character, and of course Court.
Court, can't forget
Court's the
Court.
best. And now there's a mini Court named Zinc. No.
Yeah, I believe something like that. So,
yes.
But they're Zinc's in the fold now too, which I believe is a female of that species. That's escaping me right now, but fascinating new species.
I love this species.
Yeah, just like they're like most like powerful when they're children and a danger to everyone around them, so they wear like special bone helmets to like keep them like chill.
So cool.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting series with a lot of cool characters. But the heart of the story is Lula and Zine's love story. It's cool.
Yeah, to the point where wait, which one's the Jedi? Lula?
Lula is
the
Jedi. She's now left
ex-Jedi.
the Order.
Yeah.
But here's one of the things that happens in this run is we watch her leave the Jedi Order, and there's something I really appreciate about this, because we only hear from like Count Dooku talk about, we hear about or through Count Dooku we kind of learn about the Fallen, right? The people are kind of like leave in disgrace or kind of like weirdly like whatever.
Dark side?
It's unclear. It's like they leave in a way that's not clean, I guess, in some way, right? Like they just. It's weird, but like this was dealt with so much differently that I appreciate. Just like, can we tell a story about a Padawan? It's just like, no, not for me. Thank you. I think I've gone as far as I can go. And you know what everyone does with that choice? Supports it. Yeah. Listens to her, understands her, and says, yeah. And by the way, you're not excommunicated. You don't need to go away. Like, you're not kicked out. Like, that's the thing I love about this story plot is like, she's still part of the team. She's just no longer a Padawan. She's no longer on that journey. It's just really interesting way to tell that story of a person who's just like, yeah, not for me. Yeah. I know. It was interesting.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Really good stuff.
The one thing that's a little wild is like, I think of this as sort of like a child's tale, but they've grown up. We've been reading this for like 3 years now, and the characters have grown up through war and all that. But like they're talking about getting married in this, and I'm like, wait, how are you like?
Oh yeah, there's a full-on engagement. Yeah.
In my eyes, they're like 15-year-olds or 16-year-olds. Like she was a Padawan, so it's like Lula was a Padawan, so. They're both very powerful in the Force, but I'm just like, okay, whatever. They're different species. I don't know. Like, fine.
I think they do identify themselves as 17 or 18. They do say a number that I'm like, okay. The second time reading, I'm like, yeah.
But it seems like a high school marriage to me, which is like...
Speaking from personal experience, don't get married at 19. Moving on.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's what this feels like. I didn't really feel like how youthful it is. I just felt like this was fun progress to see Star Wars make, where it's having, the first sort of queer relationship in a major way, which was like great. Like, and having a marriage, like, but that was, to me, that was just awesome. I was like, we need more of this. Like, we got a little bit in the Acolyte with the witch mothers, but
we did. It was
it's
somewhat a little coded in that.
It was more coded than this.
Correct.
This was very much like front and center and important to sort of go in this direction, because in Rise of Skywalker, there's a sort of nod to a
2-second
kiss, a couple for a 2-second kiss or something. But it's like, let's go, let's push it a little further, and let's welcome all, and I feel like that's Star Wars is for all. Let's keep going with that.
The books,
and I really like
do it
the
a lot
engagement. I really like that you get a full panel, you get a full spread of sort of the engagement in this comic, which is great.
I mean, the books and the comics are doing the work that the live action will eventually do as society, as the curve curves towards justice.
Well, you have these sort of monastic, like order, right? That they're not really allowed to get married, but now they're like, no, we're kind of leaving the order because it feels right. And now that we are, I love this person, and it's not attachment, and it's and so you don't get an opportunity for this in Star Wars very often. So it's kind of
not scolded. Like, this is this is not to beat a dead bantha, but like when we get to the point of like moving forward, we need this as the example of how to deal with attachment and emotion in the Jedi Order. Is open conversations. And whether that means you have to leave the Jedi Order or not, as long as you're comfortable talking to your master about it, like she demonstrates this is the way through. Right? Because imagine if Anakin had this conversation with, I don't know, anyone in the Jedi Order, as opposed to like a veiled conversation with Yoda. Like, we probably would have avoided the entire fall of the Jedi Order. Just saying. 100%. Like, have a conversation and make an order where you're comfortable having those conversations.
One of my favorite interactions in like all of Star Wars. Like, I didn't get it. So like at first I think it was Zine's freaking out because she wants to propose to Lula, and she's like talking to Farzala and Court, I believe. And it's like all these things, and I was like, okay, all right, I get this, you're excited. But then, like, I don't know if it's the next issue or if it's the next, just a few panels later, Lula comes in and has the exact same conversation. And but like this time, like the first time, like Court and Farzala were like, why are you freaking out? Like, what is all this? But this time they have all the answers to all her questions, because she wants the exact same thing, is going through the same thing as Zine is. Yeah.
How do I propose? And they're like, I can guarantee you it will go fine. Basically, and
then like missile strike from the hill or whatever. But it was a really funny bit. I really enjoyed that bit.
I also love that they're all jam-packed in that cockpit before the moment. It's like before she proposes to her at the crash site, it's like they're all just jammed up in this cockpit. I love this panel. It's like my favorite panel of all the issues we read, where they're like, and it's a great bit that I would love to see in like a future live action film, is like a bunch of people in a starfighter that like shouldn't be able to fit in a starfighter, all just like together. I was like, this is such a funny bit. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a movie uses this in the future, where it's like all we have is this, starfighter jump on in, and then everyone's just like foot is in each other's face.
It's great.
And it lends itself to this artist style, because it's just like this, you don't know where one person ends and the other person begins. It's just this like explosion of color and faces, and like it's pretty great.
I feel like this is, so the High Republic Adventures, to me, I mean, not to me, I mean, it is. It's the same thing as what do they refer to as young adult novels at the level of the young adult novels. And then what's before that? There's whatever the one that's not the junior, the middle reader. So the young adult is like, that's like for teenagers, right? Like that's like teenager stuff. And I always argue that that's like the real Star Wars for me when I read those books. I'm like, yep, this is getting Star Wars, because Star Wars is young adult.
Yeah, that's
like,
kind of
at its core in a lot of ways.
Genre focus.
And so there's room for everything, as we talked about. But like, that's why I feel like it's weird to me. Maybe it's not weird. Maybe it's perfect that the High Republic Adventures, I feel like, is dealing with attachment more directly than the quote unquote like just novels and the High Republic main run, which are great. Like, I don't dislike those, but I'm like, this to me is like sometimes the meat. I'm beating a dead bantha again, but this is the meat for me where I just love this like. Yeah, let's explore attachment a little bit. And what better way to explore attachment than a bunch of teenagers?
Yeah.
Because boy, do a bunch of teenagers love to attach themselves to things.
And this is like old man. I'm not mad about it, but like it makes me feel like an old man. Like I feel like this series is very focused on Generation Z. I don't even know if I'm using the right generation. But like, and I kind of feel like I'm like, all right, this is not necessarily written exactly for me. It's like dealing with a lot of issues that younger people are going through, and in a context that I'm not familiar with.
You mean a character named Zine represents a Generation Z teen? Zine.
You might be onto something there.
I wonder.
I think you are. Seems like a very.
I like our guy Crank Flat,
yes,
who's a Doug who works for the Nihil.
Yeah.
And man, like whenever they introduce a new sort of like brutish Nihil character, I'm just like, this is what I live for. I love seeing these like basically they're kind of like mods from Book of Boba Fett. They have like little cybernetic like augments into their flesh, and they have like really cool designs, really cool armor, and sort of like they look like sort of like Mad Max sort of Galaxy Far Far Away treatment, totally. And it's so cool to see each character that they introduce. And then when you also realize that a lot of these characters kind of show up in the novel space too, where you're reading the novels and you're like, oh, like that Thea Fair, I've heard that name before. Yeah. You're kind of spotting things. There's little Easter eggs for us who read all of the books and all of the comics, and it's cool. Like the Nihil are not sort of thinly drawn. They're very well designed, and they're very like thought out, and there's a lot of sort of really cool nuance to sort of like their rank and file and how they operate, their culture. It's so cool. And Kevin Scott and Daniel Jose Alder kind of been there from the beginning, and they're just so good at sort of writing these Nihil characters. And so I love seeing that stuff. And Crix is back. Trying to take out the eye. And
so this is a good way to kind of move on to this one-shot comic, right? The Crash and Burn, written by Daniel Jose Alder. Like it's not all that different. It just spins off.
Like Crash character that they follow. She, I don't think she's a they. I think she's a she. Is like a really, it's like kind of a very brutish character. It's very brooding character, and it's like with a heavy history, but it's operating. This is kind of the flip side of the coin, where like Zine is living her best life and getting married, and she followed the path of the light. Crix went the other way, though he's now trying to make amends, but he went the way of the Nihil. They grew up together on their planet and whatever.
But the weird thing is, like, is he trying to make amends, or is he just trying to get revenge? Right?
He's not a good guy.
His even still, like, this is a character we met at the very beginning, like issue 1, right, of the High Republic Adventures. Like, even still, he's not trying to destroy the Nihil because it feels like he'll bring peace to the galaxy. He just wants revenge. He's just an angry young man, right, who just wants to burn the world.
But very interesting because like
don't relate with that at all. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but all he wants to do is assassinate Marchion Ro, and that's sort of what this. And it's a very long comic, where it's going, and it intersects with High Republic Adventures in points, and I just think it's interesting that he tried to do it and he had a plan. It's like all the machinations are very convoluted to me. Crank Flat, amazing character, and the art, like you said, great, like the art of the Nihil people, like they're just creating new characters. And it's cool. Just beautiful that whoever that like brute was that was with them that they ran into and had to imprison, like and ultimately intercepted.
I want to say his name was like Aratham or something. Aratham.
Yeah, but he
very cool character. Yeah,
he was like a dragon, but he was like a humanoid.
Yeah, dragonborn. Yeah,
and but I mean he, Crix takes a shot. Tries to throw a sticky bomb, just tries to get an audience with Marchion. Like, all of these things have been just to get an audience with him so that he can shoot him and kill him. But he tries to throw a sticky bomb at him. This, giant creature intercepts it and then hugs Crix, and we're led to believe they both died in a fiery inferno? ?
Yeah, ? Here's the thing I'll say is, like, so about halfway through the comic, you get a one-page thing of Crix's like master plan of just like, I'm gonna get in there, I'm gonna throw a sticky bomb, and I was like, well, that's a dumb plan. Like, that is not well thought out. And he gets within like, and then I'm reading this book, I'm like, he gets within like an inch of actually working, which I kind of loved. Of just like, you know what? Sometimes you don't need a master plan, right? You just need opportunity, and it just is, you just need one lackey who will jump in between you and a bomb, right? Like, it's just trying not to make any connections to any real world things that have happened recently, but like, it's wild how easy it is to get that close to someone of power.
I know, and it's like such a great
moving on.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, tread carefully. But they.
Right. Yeah.
But it is funny how like Marchion Ro, he's probably in 2 panels. He's so like Joker nonchalant about this whole thing, and he's just and like so literally nihilistic about it. Like he you know, probably sensed there was danger coming towards him, but he like didn't really care. He's just like, kill him, walks away, sort of looks over his shoulder as the sticky bomb's being thrown at him. Someone intercepts it, and he just sort of like walks out, and like, that's it. Like, just like, well, if he hit me with a bomb and I exploded, then so be it. Like, you know, it's, I don't know. It was good, you know, Marchion Ro, not in there for much, but like really good character development in the like 2 panels we saw.
Yeah.
He's unpredictable and triumphs in almost every scene that he's in.
Yeah.
Both the novel space and the comic space. It's
somewhat
it's predictable as to what the outcome will be whenever there's a Marchion Ro.
I mean, like, we knew this wasn't going to end with Crix like succeeding, right? But like, things that are interesting is like, is this the end of Crix's tale? I don't know, since he started at the beginning of the High Republic adventures, but I do like that they kind of like shunted off to tell the story. The other thing I was going to say is that, you know, the fact that Crix extended the occlusion zone, it's fascinating, right? Like, a fascinating side story of this is that, like,
that was a cool idea, because I was like, it's so interesting when Iriadu does fall into the occlusion zone, and one of the Jedi remarks upon it, and it's like, it's just interesting to know that then, like, comms are all shut off, you can't talk to the core, like, you're just stuck in a zone where there's, you know, no communication going in or out. It's no hyperspace travel going in or out. It's very cool to like understand that that's spreading, you know, like that was cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess a major plot point in there too. I think, you know, you talked about like, well, we know that he's not going to be killed by Crix. You know, this comic did also serve to show that there is dissent. I mean, there's technically, that's the nature of the Nihils. There's always dissent, right?
Right.
But it would not like
vulnerabilities
from Crank Flat's mouth to your ear.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, we haven't really talked about how, like, you know, ideas about how Marchion will ultimately face his end, or what his end will look like, or if he'll have an end, you know. But it would not surprise me if he finally succumbs to the machine that he made. And it would be, I was thinking how poetic it would be if this, you know, orphan he took in ended up taking him out with a cheap shot. Like, that almost would be, that's the chaotic nature of the Nihil, and it almost makes sense for the
right.
It's very Shakespearean and very much like a Charles
Dickens.
Why can't I think of his name? Dickens is very Dickensian. Dickensian. Thank you. I'm like, I know there's a word for that.
Yeah.
Said it before. Thank you, Grant. Yeah, it feels very much that, and I would like that. I think that would make a ton of sense. This is completely non sequitur, but I just remembered that we are going to get more of Kelnacca. Just to go back to Kelnacca, it is High Republic. He is going to be part of Cabin Scott's second part of Phase 3 main run. High Republic is Kelnacca is going to be around.
Oh, cool.
So we are going to get more Kelnacca during.
That's where I got a little
good.
confused at the top of this, because they do show a panel. It's like, they will be back in 2025, and they show Kelnacca alongside a bunch of our heroes fighting the Nihil. And I was like, all right, let's go. So that'll be cool to see. All right, guys, why don't we wrap it up? That was a fun time. These comics are great. Read them if you can. Thanks very much for listening, as always, to us, babble about Star Wars. There's still plenty to talk about, and love doing it. So next week, we will be talking about Darth Vader's comic book ending as he approaches Return of the Jedi. The last 3 issues, I believe. 4 issues? 4?
I helpfully shut down my thing. Oh, it's come back up. 46 through 50.
5-ish.
So last 5 issues is kind of the Raising of Exegol is the name of
I haven't read a
series,
page of that yet. I am stoked for it. Darth Vader's amazing.
Yeah,
it's very
and
very fun.
I know that they will put a good capstone on the end of that comic book run, which is epic all the time. So we'll do that next week, and then the week after we'll do Tears of the Nameless, and dip back into the High Republic as we like to dip.
Sounds good.
But it's awesome. Good talking to you guys. Thanks for listening, y'all. We'll talk to you.
Great chat, guys.
Next week on. Oh, it's muted. God, that is just the worst ending. I can't even get this right. How am I supposed to? Well, it's gonna be on Cantina Chronicles. I think that's probably my worst one yet.
Perfect. Yeah, stuck the landing.
Love you guys.